Hello students, hope you all are doing good. Today we are going to continue with our chapter number 6 of history, that is Revolt of 1857. In this chapter we will be getting to know more about that what were the causes of the revolt that took place in the year 1857 and what factors led to it, and how many types of causes were there which actually exhibited its energy so as to cause the revolt. Actually, the main cause of revolt of 1857 was to stop the Britishers from doing their and explicitly harassment on Indians, because Britishers were there who were causing harassment, who were torturing Indians so as to be on their side and work as per their demands. So there were certain many more factors because of which Indians came together to fight against Britishers. So let's focus on what are the causes of the revolt. First was political cause. Some of the policies adopted by Lord Dalhousie caused widespread resentment among the Indian rulers and their subjects. Lord Dalhousie used the policy of doctrine of lapse, means Lord Dalhousie was the one who brought doctrine of lapse as a kind of treaty in which if a kingdom is not having any male heir, then they will have to hand over the kingdom to the Britishers after the death of the real king. So in that case, that was known as doctrine of lapse, and it was brought up by the Lord Dalhousie. Not only this, but also Dalhousie started interfering in the internal affairs of the Indian rulers. Means he started interfering. He started getting involved in the business and affairs of rulers, and he annexed, means captured Awadh, and also Nawab Wajid Ali Shah was exiled to Calcutta. Exiled means Vanvas, and he had to move it. The outrage of the people of Awadh then caused resentment among the Indian soldiers of the British army, as most of them were from Awadh. And in that case, when they were exiled to some other place, then most of the soldiers in the British army were also from India and were Indians and were from Awadh. So they started raising their voices and they were not happy with that. And after then, the people from other parts of the country also became apprehensive after witnessing the fate of Awadh, and people from other parts of the country also came forward to support the Nawab of Awadh and raise their voice against Britishers. And after then, the last Mughal emperor Bahadur Shah Jafar, also known as Bahadur Shah II, was under the protection of the company and received a pension from them. Means he was getting pension from the Britishers. In 1849, Lord Dalhousie announced that the successors, means coming generations of Bahadur Shah, will not be able to get any rights or any allowances to reside at the Red Fort. Instead, they will be allowed to live somewhere near Qutub Minar. And in 1856, Lord Canning announced the successors of Bahadur Shah Jafar would not be allowed to use the titles of the Mughal rulers. Means Lord Canning told that Mughals will not be allowed. The successors of Mughals and Bahadur Shah Jafar will not be allowed to use the title Mughals, which was a very big uh, defeat for them. And this also hurt the sentiments of so many people and so many Indians. And also, Indians were not allowed to have their positions enrolled in any kind of high post like civil, military, and government jobs, because they were willing and Britishers were willing to give those posts only to the Britishers, and they think that Indians are not subjective it, and they think that Indians cannot be trusted, and that's why they never gave any high posts to Indians, and instead they gave all the posts to the Britishers. Now, coming on economic causes. So, before focusing on economic causes, let me tell you that there were two main reasons for economic causes. First was British revenue policy, and the second was deindustrialization. Let's focus on first one, that is British revenue policy. The policy adopted by the East India Company led to economic exploitation of India. Means जो भी policy which was adopted by East India Company was a kind of exploitation to the Indian economy. You have already learned how the land revenue systems introduced by the company caused misery and hardships for the peasants. Yes, we knew about, and we already learned this about that the high taxes in Mahalwari and Rotwari and permanent settlement systems. Peasants had to pay a lot and lot of taxes, because of which they were not capable of having a meal of two times, and instead they had to buy loans and get loans from money lenders on high interest rates, and in not being able to return their loans, they were supposed to work as slaves with either in the under the Britishers or under the money lenders. The confiscation of Jagirs was another cause of resentment. Means they were the ones who were not willing to work. The company confiscated thousands of Jagirs from the small zamindars and landlords during the administrators of Lord Williams. Means those who were willing and were working under those landlords, the the Britishers took all of them from them, and these zamindars and landlords failed to produce written deeds of ownership. Even during the annexation of Awadh, the small holdings were confiscated. These people actively participated in the uprising of 1857. Means this particular paragraph means that those who were working as slaves under the rulers of those zamindars and landlords, they were told that you don't have to work under the Britishers, and they all actively participated when the revolt of 1857 was going on. Now comes deindustrialization, means that disinfection of industries. That is, India was forced by the East India Company to become a major supplier of raw materials like cotton, indigo, and silk to promote the growth of the British industries. Like we studied also last time that industrialization was completely thing when Britishers used to sell cash crops so as to get money. Here, India was a cheap source. They forced Indians to grow their crops and instead gave them very low returns and low prices, and also in returns of money they used to sell the goods at very high prices in international market. And India also served as the market of the goods produced by these industries, and they used to export and import the goods and sell the ready-made products by the Indian goods at a very high prices in India. This led to the destruction of the traditional Indian handicraft industries. Means the industries which were already set up by Indians faced a lot of discouragement. Traditional zamindars and landlords who patronized these industries were also ruled by the British policies, and everyone who had no idea of what Britishers were trying to do got ruined because of their ideas and bad deeds. And these people played a major role during the revolt. And those who really suffered a lot played a very vital role in reshaping the government of Britishers. Students, next comes social and religious causes, which actually played a very vital role in shaping the society and also filled all the Indian people with aggression who were related to the gods and mystics things culturally and religiously. Since the early 19th century, the British started intervening, means interrupting in the matters of social customs and religious practices of India. Means they started interfering in all the matters. This caused popular discontent among the masses, means in a group. For example, acts passed by the British for social reform, such as the abolition of the custom of sati and widow remarriage. Means although Britishers were right, I will not say that they were not doing good, but whatever they were going good, what was completely abolished and criticized by the cultural committee of that particular area. The activities of some Christian missionaries also created resentment among the people. Means some people used to wear short dresses, as they were a kind of, there was no restrictions in there, so they did what they did do, and there was no restriction also. And the introduction of Western education led to the undermined importance of Pandits and Maulvis, who played a major role in the traditional education system. Because when the Western education system came and got established into India, all the ones who were related to the Maulvis and the Pandits got dissolved, and known they played a very vital role in that area, which caused them loss. Coming on military causes, which you might have heard of earlier also in the movie, if you have watched a movie of Mangal Pandey. If you have not, then you must. The sepoys means soldiers serving the British army were ill paid, means were not well paid, badly housed, means they were not having a good house to live in, and racially discriminated, means they were discriminated and harassed by the higher authorities who were Britishers. They were looked down upon by the European counterparts. They were often denied promotion even if their performance was good. Means no matter how hard they were trying, they were not getting any kind of increment in their salaries, or they were always harassed and they were always tortured. All high ranks were reserved by the Britishers. The highest rank a sepoy could attain was that of a subedar, और कोई highest rank थी that they could attain was a subedar, and a sepoy could attain as a insignificant post in the army. The special allowance or bhatta means a kind of Indian soldier fighting in far off frontier places and the foreign lands was stopped. Means something that was prefixed means a kind of money that is given to the people and the sepoys and the soldiers who has to take their daily expenses out. Many acts and policies of army hurt the religious sentiments of the Indian soldiers and caused much resentment. Means many activities were there which caused harm, and the soldiers were not liking that. The soldiers were not allowed to wear turbans or to grow beards, which was completely against their culture. The General Service Enlistment Act of 1856 forced all the Indian soldiers to travel overseas, means to work somewhere outside the India. According to some religious tradition, the Indian sepoys did not want to travel overseas. Many believed that traveling overseas would lead to a loss of caste, and many sepoys believed that if they will travel overseas, then this will cause them loss of their caste, and they denied and resigned from their post and started and went back to their places from where they came. Now, bouncing on immediate cause. The introduction of the Enfield rifles in 1857 served as the trigger of the revolt. It was rumored that the cartridges, means the fire bullets for these rifles, were covered with a layer of grease made of animal fat, and the animal fat was told to be of cow and pig, which was completely exhibited and prohibited by both Muslims and Hindu at the time. The cartridges had to be bitten off before being loaded, means it was supposed to be taken out from their mouth before being loaded, and one had to bite it off from the mouth, and which was completely exhaustible and was not acceptable neither to the Hindus nor to the Muslims. This went against the religious sentiments of both Hindus and Muslims, and this rumor spreaded like wildfire. On 29th March 1857, Mangal Pandey, a sepoy of 34th Bengal Native Infantry at Barakpur, rebelled and refused to use the Enfield rifle because he was the one who firstly came out. Though he was executed, it led to the revolt in other places, which culminated in the great uprising at Meerut. It's not mentioned over here, but let me tell you, he was the one who shot one soldier, one governor general, and because of the reason he was hanged to death. Now let's focus on spread of revolt. So the revolt that started just because of greased cartridges actually spread in all the parts of the country. The great uprising started at Meerut on 9th May 1857. It is all started from there. Indian soldiers refused to use the cartridges and rose in revolt. Means all the Indian soldiers exhibited their jobs and they were told that they will be revolting against all this. They stormed the jail and freed other soldiers. Means whatever number of soldiers were there and executed were there, who were captured in the jail, were set free by the crowd and by the revolters. Shot the European officers dead and disconnected the telegraph lines to cut off all communications for the Europeans. Means they've made a mindset in their plans that they will be doing and working on these many fields so that nobody will be able to connect to anyone. The revolutionaries marched from Meerut and reached Delhi on 11th May 1857. The small British garrison at Delhi could not resist them. Means the group of battalion of Britishers which was there could not stop such crowd, and they all held and helped Mughal Emperor Bahadur Shah Jafar to get back to its throne on the seat which was taken from them. Nana Sahib was the leader of the uprising in Kanpur. He captured Kanpur and declared himself the Peshwa, but his victory was short-lived. The British force reached Kanpur and captured it. Nana Sahib escaped somewhere towards Nepal. Nana Sahib was the one who actually tried getting that, but somehow when Britishers reached there, he just ran away because he wanted to save his life and somewhere headed to Nepal. Then the British force reached Kanpur and captured it. Nana Sahib escaped somewhere towards Nepal. Tantia Tope, one of the great generals of Nana Sahib, kept fighting but was eventually arrested and hanged. He was the one who was arrested and then hanged. Begum Hazrat Mahal was the leader of the uprising in Lucknow, which was also known as Awadh. People from all ranks joined the uprising. Means people from different areas came forward to help Hazrat Mahal. But the revolutionaries besieged the residency and killed most of the Englishmen, including notorious Englishman O'Neill. He was also killed by the Indian people. People and soldiers from Jhansi revolted against the company's rule and asked Rani Lakshmi Bai to lead the uprising. They consulted and approached Rani Lakshmi Bai to guide them, and Rani Lakshmi Bai was one of the bravest leaders of the uprising of 1857 because she fought with all of her will. Kanwar Singh was the leader of the uprising in Bahar. Here it's written Kanwar, but it should be Kunwar. He was the Zamindar of Jagdishpur in South India. There were attempts of revolts in Ahmedabad, Hyderabad, Sindh, and etc. Means he was the one who participated actively in all these areas like Ahmedabad, Hyderabad, Sindh, and many more places. And mainly he just originated and his exemptions came from Bihar. So students, let's know more about suppression of the revolt. The British were ambushed at the beginning of the revolt but soon regained the momentum. Means they were crushed at the beginning but they got back with more power and more battalion and were capable of getting what they lost. After experiencing an initial setback, immediate steps were taken by Lord Canning to suppress the revolt. Means earlier they were not knowing about it, so they were not prepared. But as soon as they got to know about the revolt, they asked the higher authorities for more number of battalions and more number of soldiers. And after they all reached the place, they were capable of getting everything in control. He gathered the British forces in different parts of the country and took help of the Sikh regiment, which was loyal to the British. Means Sikhs were loyal at the time to the Britishers. By September 1857, the British were successful in occupying Delhi, and again Bahadur Shah Jafar was taken out from that throne. The last Mughal king Bahadur Shah Jafar was tried and charged at court. He was eventually sent to a prison where he died in November 1862. His sons were also executed. Means he was the one who died just because of some lack of some appetite and other diseases, whereas his sons were executed. Other leaders of the revolt met similar fates at Bahadur Shah Jafar. Means other leaders also had and faced the same thing as the took place with Bahadur Shah Jafar. Rani Lakshmi Bai joined Tantia Tope at Gwalior. She was the one who helped him over there. Tantia Tope was in charge of the revolt of Gwalior. The British were able to capture Gwalior in June 1858. Again, Britishers were able to capture the place. Sir Hugh Rose, a British military official, killed Rani Lakshmi Bai in a battle during the same time. She died at that fighting bravely with Hugh Roche. Although Tantia Tope managed to escape, he was caught and executed. Again, the same thing happened because so many leaders of our Indian lost their lives by fighting with all these corrupt peoples. It is believed that Nana Sahib and Begum Hazrat Mahal fled to Nepal and spent the remaining days of their life there. Means it is considered and believed that the remaining days of the life of Nana Sahib and Begum Hazrat Mahal was spent together. They spent their life together and they are in Nepal only. Other mutineers such as Khan Bahadur Khan at Bareilly and Kumar Singh in Jagdishpur were successfully suppressed. Means they were they were willing to fight against the Britishers. A few other uprisings continued for some time, however, over a period of British were able to crush the revolt completely. Means so many people from different parts of the country came forward to fight against the Britishers, but Britishers were more in number. They had more number of Britishers and battalions, so they were capable of getting everything back on place, and finally they did. Now let's focus on what was the main reason for the failure of the revolt. The revolt of 1857 was the first major effort by the Indians to remove the British. Means it was the first step by Indians, and India got independence after 90 years of it. And in the initial stages of the revolt, the Indian sepoys outnumbered the British soldiers. They had the support of the common masses and were able. Means in the initial stages when it was all just started, the Indian soldiers were more in number as compared to British soldiers. But when Lord Canning got to know about the strategies, they asked the higher authorities for more number of British soldiers. When they came, masses were got reduced and they all were sent to jail, and none of them were capable of getting the support. And later, however, they were contained by the British. Numerous reasons were accounted for the failure of the revolt of 1857, and many more reasons were there. Lack of conspiracies and lack of coordination, no weapons, no good quality of strategies. These were the reasons which caused loss of failure of revolt. Let's know about it. What was the limited scope of the revolt? The entire country did not participate in the revolt, as I mentioned. The revolt was limited to Delhi, Meerut, Awadh, Bihar, Rohilkhand, and some neighboring territories. The entire region of South India, along with Punjab, Gujarat, North and West, Rajasthan, Bengal, and Madhya Pradesh, remained untouched and aloof, without any discussion or without any touching of Britishers. Lack of planning, as I told, there was very lack of planning and lack of strategy also. So the most important cause for the failure of the lack of definite plan and organization, as I told, the revolt of 1857 was a series of isolated uprisings. Means ups and downs were there without any organized link between the mutineers in the different parts of the country. No one was able to contact anyone, and people were doing whatever they wanted to. They just had one vision in their mind, that they had to shoot the Britishers, and they had to do one thing, that they have to run Britishers off from the ground. The Britishers, on the other hand, were well organized and had a definite plan of action. Means they had a good strategy which was working. They had a good number of soldiers and a good number of weapons also, which was a main reason that why Indians lost the war and the battle. The same category comes under the category of superior military strength of the Britishers, because they had a good military which was well trained, which was capable of getting and fighting all the laws and all the odds, which gave them strength, and which was the main reason that why Indians and Britishers won the revolt and Indians lost it. So let's know that why was and what was the one of the reason that why Indians lost and Britishers won. It's just because of the support of Indians also. The Sindhyas, Nizam of Hyderabad and the rulers of Patiala and Punjab remained loyal to Britishers. Even after knowing that they were not doing anything, they were causing harm to the country, they still remained loyal. The Pathan Hill tribes of the northwest frontier and the Gurkhas of Nepal rendered useful services to the British during the revolt. Means they provided every facility which they asked for. In Awadh, very few talukdars, means some zamindars, joined the revolt, while some challenged loyalties with the coming of British troops. Many zamindars and moneylenders chose to stay away from the revolt altogether, because they knew very well that if they will go with the revolt, then they will either lose their lives, or they will be executed, or they will be sentenced to the jail. Weak leadership. There was no leader. They all were doing everything that they wanted to. There was no strategy. There was, even if the leaders were fighting, there was no one to support them. They were just fighting all of their on their own. There was nobody to come out. Come on, new developments. What were the things that took place? Although the East India Company successfully suppressed the revolt of 1857, means they were successful in ending it all, the result in significant changes in the administrative structure in India. After the 1857 revolt, Queen Victoria issued a proclamation in 1858. The following issue clauses were mentioned in the Queen's proclamation. Means a law was passed and the following things were included in that. First was, the company rule came to an end and the administrative control of India was transferred to the British Crown. Means now East India Company was no more the charge of India, and all the rights and regulations were handed over to the England, Queen Victoria. And the administration of the country was brought under the direct control of the British Crown, and Indian Council were appointed to overlook the Indian administration. Means all the administration was now to be looked by Britishers, by the Victoria Queens and her companies and assistants, and not by the Britishers. The Indian army was reorganized under British Crown. The number of British soldiers were increased. The Indian soldiers were divided into martial and non-martial races, and regiments were based on the caste and religion. For example, the Jat regiment and the Sikh regiment. Means now everything was divided. Now even the Indians, the particular region was divided into two parts, and number of soldiers of Britishers were also increased. Many rebels were plundered, except for the ones changed for the murders of the British officials. Means they were set free, but those who killed someone, were executed. The practice of territorial annexation was also put to an end, because in this way, like people, as I told you, the doctrine of lapse, like Britishers used to occupy and capture the land and the kingdom of the king who is not having any male heir. That practice was brought to an end. The British decided to respect and stay away from any religious and social practices of the Indian culture and the Indian people. They said that they won't be interfering in any of the activities. After the revolt of 1857, the local revolt took place in the 19th century. Although the revolt of 1857 failed, it paved way for the nationalist movement that succeeded in overthrowing the British rule. And it all just got possible because sometimes we fail and sometimes we will learn. So 1857 revolt was a kind of learning tactic, because of which Indians were capable of getting more support, and they were capable of getting to know about that what is to be done and how it is to be done with a proper planning strategy and proper leadership. So students, I hope you all have understood the concept and the plot of the chapters and whatever happened in the year 1857, and what happened with the leaders as well and what they did. So if you want to know more about, you can go through the internet access, you can read news, you can read articles regarding this, you can access YouTube videos, and many more contents are there available on the internet. Just search on it. And in case of any query, chat box is always open, and you can just write your queries on that, and we'll meet soon. Thank you, and stay safe and take care.